Okay, good evening, everyone. We are going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:35. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, February 24th, ANC 34G's regular meeting. And just to start out by two announcements, real quick at the top of the meeting. There is definitely a mix up in the agenda, which was my fault, so my apologies. The new start time for ANC meetings is 6:30. However, I copied the old agenda from the previous meeting that started at 7. So on the agenda, the roll call to order is at 7 p.m. when it really should be 6:30. So we'll have to adjust everything by about a half hour in terms of presentation and times. We might have some folks that start joining our meeting right at 7. So just keep an eye out on that. And ANC 34G has been extremely busy this week. We had a lot of community meetings. So just a really quick shout out to everyone that held public meetings with the community. So we had two public safety meetings that Commissioner Goslin and Commissioner Simmons did. Commissioner Fennessy hosted a community meeting on the Lafayette Pointer Erosion Project, and myself and Commissioner Sherman, primarily spearheaded by Commissioner Sherman, hosted a community meeting on the bottle bill. So we'll roll over into the bottle bill discussion on tonight's agenda, but just wanted to let everybody know we're out there working very hard, trying to make sure that the community gets all the information that it needs. So with that, I'm going to start with commissioner introductions, and I always go left to right, and I'm on far left this time, which is rare, but I'll start out. My name is Lisa Gore, and I'm the commissioner for 3G01. I serve all of Hawthorne and portions of Barnaby Woods, and I'm the commission chair. And Commissioner Sherman.
I am Commissioner Sherman, Bruce Sherman, representing Single Member District 02, which is all the way over by Rock Creek Park, north of Military, up to Tennyson, but it also includes Unicorn Lane and Oregon Knolls, just north of there. Welcome, everybody.
Commissioner Fennessy.
Hi, I'm Laura Fennessy, and I have Single Member District 4. That's the one by Lafayette Park, Lafayette Elementary, roughly between Broad Branch Road and Utah, McKinley, and Western.
Commissioner Goslin.
Hi, I'm Peter Goslin. I'm the commissioner for District 6, which is largely the west side of Connecticut back to Friendship Heights.
And Commissioner Grunwald.
Yes, good evening. I'm Carol Grunwald. I'm Single Member District 03, which goes from Broad Branch all the way up to 27th Street in Utah.
Commissioner Nagy.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'm Liz Nagy. I'm in SMD 07, which is south of Military, west to Reno, east to Nevada, and south to Chevy Chase Parkway.
And Commissioner Simmons.
Cynthia Simmons. I have Connecticut Avenue from Legation to Western all the way back to Broad Branch.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. Regarding the meeting procedures, they're pretty much the same as they always have been. We'll have 3 minutes for discussion tonight from both commissioners and community members. I would ask that everyone go once before someone goes twice. If community members, you want to ask a question of the commission, I would ask that you use the react function in the middle of your screen. There's a little raise hand button. If you raise your hand, then we can call on you. And then commissioners also to abide by the same rules. So let's make sure that everyone is recognized by the chair before they speak out. With that, is there any changes? Are there any changes to the agenda tonight, commissioners? I don't have any changes, commissioners? Okay. So with that, I move that we adopt the agenda. Is there a second? Commissioners, all those in favor, raise your hand, show of hands. Okay, 7-0. Commissioner Nagy, I need to remind me to put your name after the end of this going forward. Adoption of ANC meeting minutes for February 10th.
Are
Want to move that?
are Lisa, you're moving to adopt them? I'll second.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to move it. You can move
Oh,
them
that's what you were asking me. Sorry. Yeah, we have a little change to those minutes because there was a motion that was left out. I plan to put that back in, and if everyone's okay with that, I move that we adopt the agenda as amended to include that second motion that didn't quite make it in.
Can you refer to what the second motion is?
It was, it was the first motion to adopt the minutes, and then there was a change to the minutes. I think that was your concern. So that was the second motion. So now both motions will be in the minutes.
Thank you.
Was there a second on that? Okay, commissioners, all those in favor, just show of hands. 7-0. Thank you. All right. And this portion of the agenda is an ANC 34G resident forum where if there is an issue that residents want to bring to the attention of the ANC that is not currently on the agenda can do so. Are there any issues, community members, that you want to raise before the ANC? Elizabeth Thaden?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I'm Elizabeth Vaden, and I'm a resident of SMD 06. I've really appreciated the steps this ANC has been taking to clarify policies and procedures, creating a more tight, predictable, and orderly process. And I think that's something this ANC has struggled with in the past. And things like setting firm time limits for speakers have really helped the meetings proceed more smoothly. In the same vein, I'd like to urge the ANC to do better with posting draft resolutions and proposed amendments, at least a few days before they're to be discussed and voted on. Doing so is essential to meaningful public participation and seems reasonable to expect from a commission that prioritizes transparency and community input. It also seems to be standard practice at other ANCs. Thank you.
Yeah. And commissioners, anyone want to address that? I was going to address it, but I also will let you address if anyone wants to add anything. Commissioner Gosselin?
I think you're on solid ground in making this proposal. I think you're going to see over the next several months substantial improvements in the website, which is being redesigned, and in our ability to continuously reach out to the community through some community engagement software. But the base level that we've got to get to is posting things that we're going to talk about ahead of time, and we need to improve on that.
And I'll just add that that's always definitely been a goal of the ANC. We do have the 7-day goal that we try to meet to post things that we're going to vote on within the same time frame that we post the agenda. It's definitely always been a struggle with the ANC. And that is just, I think, the beast of the ANC, and especially when we are coming into a new term with majority for new commissioners. So it's really tough to initially find the cadence, but we are definitely getting there. And you know, I will say in terms of transparency, it's not our goal to post things late. It's definitely our goal to post things timely and give the community an opportunity for feedback. But I would definitely also ask the community's patience with the new commission with this term while we, you know, get ourselves together, get our cadence, and you know, get things to you guys in a timely fashion. So we definitely hear you. Thank you. Any other community comments? Okay, we can move on to the next part of the agenda, which is an update. I'll turn it over to Commissioners Gosselin and Simmons on the car break-ins and the public safety ANC meeting that they did.
Okay, let me start off, and Commissioner Simmons can add as we go along. And I think we also want to hear from Police Lieutenant.
Mhm.
I see Ki Yoon, the owner of Magruder's on, and I think I've spoken to him in the last week, and he can give us some update on what he's seeing in terms of police response. There were a series of car break-ins in the Magruder parking lot, in the CVS parking lot, in the community center parking lot, perhaps also in Safeway's parking lot. In the first several weeks of February, police were fast to respond, and we stood up 2 meetings, one with the public to get across a point that is very simple, and you're going to hear again from the lieutenant, which is don't leave things in your car, and don't think you can get into a store in 1 minute and get out and find your car or your belongings there. You need to secure your belongings and lock your cars. At the second meeting, Friday, Valentine's Day, the 14th, was largely focused on the business community along Upper Connecticut Avenue, although we had very good attendance from adjacent ANCs and from Maryland, suggesting that there's a lot of concern about this issue along a substantial stretch of the community. At that meeting, Captain Haskis talked about the fact that a lot of these break-ins are being, the police think are being done by a single group with a single getaway car, and they believe they have a line on that, and I think the lieutenant will update us on that. We asked for, business owners and ANC commissioners asked for the possibility of installing on a temporary basis these mobile camera towers that the police have pointed at the parking lots and not at adjacent residents, to try to be able to stop this rash of break-ins. We also heard during that meeting from about a series of other problems. The owner of June B. Sweet and Chevy Chase Stationery said she was robbed. The owner of Artsy Beast said that it wasn't clear whether it was in the immediate term, but she'd seen drugs being dealt in the back parking. Yes, police said they would get on those things. So with that, why don't I turn it over to the lieutenant just for whatever update you can give us. Lieutenant, you're on, right? If you could come on.
He's on.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Just a quick update. Of course, theft from auto situation is still the biggest problem we have right now. It's getting out. It's out of control. Not getting. For an update on the possible suspects. Last time Captain Haskis talked to you in a meeting, we had identified a single vehicle, actually 2 vehicles. Right now, at this present time, we have actually named the occupants of those vehicles. So waiting the detective office right now to wrap up the whole case and serve the warrants.
Lieutenant, you start the Zoom stumbled. You have apprehended people?
No. We haven't apprehended. We have identified not just the vehicle, but as of this week, we have identified the occupants of the vehicle. So we're waiting on the detective's office to present the warrant, get the warrant so we could serve the warrant and get the persons of interest in custody. So we're just waiting on that right now. They're actually wrapping up the case, putting all the facts together, getting all the evidence and all of that to present to the AUSA. Because it's a lot of break-ins, a lot of different complainants, property that's been taken. They're going to need to get a search warrant for a place of residents to see if they could actually retrieve some of this property and put it into evidence. against the perpetrators. But you're right. This particular group of people have been going around from PSA 201, 203, and 205. Right now, 201 and 205 have been hit the hardest right now. And that's basically all I have with the update on that. And I'll say again, the last meeting, I think I talked about the community center. That very day we had the meeting, got hit with 4 cars getting theft from 4 vehicles. And one of the complainants said to me, I only ran in for a minute. This thing, I mean 5 minutes. This thing takes in a minute for them to do. These suspects, it's very evident that they're watching the police movement as well. So when we go to one location, they start hitting the other. One of the reports, they were so bold enough that the person actually caught them doing it. They didn't care. They just did what they did and got in the car and took off. So it's they're touchable right now, but hopefully we could wrap this case up, get these guys out the way.
Okay, let me just ask that when you do make those arrests, it would be great if you'd let us know.
Most definitely. Anyone have any questions?
Commissioner Grunwald has her hand up.
Yes. Good evening, Lieutenant. Thank you so much for this report. Where are the perpetrators from? Are they from Maryland or DC, Virginia?
We actually know that they have addresses in DC, in the northeast side to be exact.
Other commissioners or other members of the public, I'd like to ask if he's still on.
Gone.
Could you just give us come on screen a minute and talk about what you were telling me when we talked at the store the other day about patrols?
Sure, of course. Hello, everyone. I hope people can hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So some positive response. We've seen more police presence in our parking lots, sometimes in a very prominent area with the lights on, sometimes in a little more obscure area, maybe to try to see if we can catch the vehicles rolling in, but definitely more presence. And of course, that serves as a deterrent. So I'm very appreciative. Even walked out to one of the patrolmen and gave him some of the drink. Not alcohol, of course, but I'm so very appreciative of the police's efforts in this. But again, I can't stress enough, the community needs to be aware to not leave any valuables in the car. I have set up 2 signs now by the entrance to warn people of the same. And we try to let people know. And I'm encouraging the business owners on my block to do the same to their patrons as well. But we as a community kind of need to get the word out also to the rest of the public, because it really takes. I mean, I looked at a video with the detective. It took 30 seconds, and they were actually on the car before the customer was even off the lot, right? Yeah, so 20 feet away. So it was incredible to see. So I can't imagine the violation, because you lose your phone, you lose your wallet. I mean, it's such an inconvenience.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
So any other questions? Otherwise, we can move on.
I was just going to add, I really like the idea of the signs at the business reminding customers to not leave valuables in the car. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Also, we are continuing to put out flyers and stuff to make the community aware of what's going on if they are not aware as yet. I'd like to speak about one more thing that was brought up in our last meeting about the Lafayette handicap parking. I forgot who.
Commissioner Finney.
So yeah, we've had police presence up there. They've been moving people along. making them aware that it's, you know, handicap parking is, they're not supposed to park there.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think that's all we have, all I have.
And Lieutenant, special thanks to you because the lieutenant is dashing from special on public disturbance to this to so they're stretched. Anyways, thanks for coming.
That acts going on right now, and we have the civil disturbance unit, the CDU units to deal with the protesters and stuff right now. So the actual section is kind of thin. People are being held over. So we're gonna make do with what we got. So
Really appreciate it. Hope you let us know soon about the
I'll check on that again tomorrow, and else I will say good night.
Good night. Thanks.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So next on the agenda is a presentation by Sean Moore. And I know, Sean, can you come on camera? I'm going to move you over. If I can. There you go. How are you? Can't hear you, Sean. Well, he's getting that.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, great. So Sean is with DC Water, and I know he has been out to the community. He's done a session with Commissioner Sherman. He previously spoke with ANC 34G, but I asked him to come back tonight to give us more of a community update on where the lead pipe replacement project stands in our area. Sean, I also know you have a presentation. I'm going to make you co-host so you can bring your presentation up. And when you're ready, get started.
Okay. Or if it's okay, can you pull it up? Are you able to pull it up?
I did not download it to my computer.
Oh, okay.
Much easier for you. And I'm host, so it's hard for me to do all that stuff I'm supposed to.
I got you. Let me see if I can make it work.
There you go.
All right, give me just a second. Slideshow. All right, you see that okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So it's good to be back again. Again, I'm Sean Moore at DC Water. I know some folks may have already seen this presentation, so I'll try to go through it and really kind of gear it towards as an update, but also look to answer your questions as far as what's going on with the program, as well as what's going on in 3-4G. So for folks, I want to make sure everyone knows what lead-free DC is, and that's DC Water's plan to eliminate all lead service lines from the district. We have about 42,000 lead service lines, and we're working to get those removed. So lead-free DC has two parts. We're replacing the service lines that we know about. We're also verifying the material for the service lines that we don't know, because we have a significant amount where we don't know exactly what it is. And so we're working to identify those. And if they are lead, then we'll replace those. So where are we? As of today, we have replaced 7,804 lead service lines. And that number grows every day. We continue to prioritize environmental justice and vulnerable populations, and we still are excited about the work that we're doing with Department of Employment Services with our Community Activators Program. We have 12 paid trainees this year. Last year we had 20, 17 completed it, and 14 got full-time jobs. So we're excited about that work, and those folks are really important to us getting the message out about the program. So challenges, of course, we have a few challenges, and I'm sure we'll have a few more as things change. But originally we're going to do this by 2030, but when we went from 28,000 to 42,000 service lines, it became a much bigger challenge. But we're still working to identify additional funding so that we can get this done as quickly as possible, and just work wherever we can do that to move this along as quick as possible. So lead and copper rule changed. That means by 2037, all these service lines have to be replaced. So what's new? We have a new dashboard, which I'm pretty excited about. That's just a picture of it on dcwater.com/lead. You can go there on the right side of the page and you can see this dashboard, and it really will give you an update as to where the program is. It's updated daily. So as we complete new service lines replacements, that number will change. So it's a pretty cool tool, so that you can take a look at it and see what's going on with the program. So the whole reason we're doing this, of course, is the health effects of lead in drinking water. I cannot do this presentation without talking about lead. It is a powerful neurotoxin, and there's no safe level of lead. And we know lead is dangerous for pretty much every system in your body. And it's bad for both children and adults. Of course, it's the folks who are most vulnerable to exposure are children, where you can hit decreases in IQ and attention span, learning and behavioral problems, new or exacerbate existing. It's a problem for pregnant women because that lead, if they're exposed, can be transferred to the baby. And for adults, heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney, nervous system problems, all the bad diseases that affect so many of us. So we're focused on the water service line, which is the line that runs from the water main in the street into your house. There's two parts of that service line: the public side, which goes from the water main to your property line, and the private side, which goes from your property line into your house. Now, DC Water maintains everything in the public space. And even though you as the homeowner own the entire space, you're only responsible for the private side. But if there's anything that happens on the private side, you're supposed to pay for that. But fortunately, with Lead-Free DC, we have money that allows us to pay for that work on private property. So we're focused on lead and galvanized pipes, which both contain lead. This is a good way for you to see what a lead pipe looks like. If you see that little bulb at a joint, then I can guarantee that you have a lead pipe. There's also thicker, and a lot of times you'll see a white oxidation in there. So we're replacing lead pipes. We're also replacing galvanized pipes, which can get this gunk inside it, for lack of a better word. Is actually called tuberculation, which can trap lead particles and release those into your water. So for those reasons, we're replacing both lead and galvanized. Some more tools we have for homeowners. We have our construction dashboard, again, on dcwater.com/lead. You can look up your address and see what any planned construction. We also have our service line map, where you can look up the map and see for any address in the city, see what kind of service line material we have for that. And you can see the multicolors on the map. If it's red, it's verified lead. If it's blue, it's verified non-lead. If it's orange, yellow, or green, we're not certain. So we're definitely going to do a test pit on those areas to make sure that we can verify those properties. So we have three ways that we're replacing them. We have capital improvements, which includes our bi-block and small diameter water main. I'm specifically talking about bi-block projects today. We also have LPRAP. A lot of customers may be eligible for LPRAP. They just need to check the lead map, and if it says they are, then they don't have to wait. They can go ahead and get their service line replaced by going through the application process with DOEE. And right now, that's free as well. There's also a voluntary program, and that's when both the public and private side are lead, but the homeowner doesn't want to wait. So they can pay for the private side, and DC Water would still pay for the public side, but DC Water would do all the coordination. So we just use a data model to choose these blocks that we're choosing from all over the city. And we're just focused on service line inventory and vulnerable populations and all that data. And we use that data to create a score for every block in the city. And the blocks with the highest scores are the ones that are prioritized over the blocks with the lower scores. That's why if you look at the distribution of blocks that we're doing, they're all over the city because they are based on that lead score. just a few photos of what you'll see when we do a replacement. We will not dig up your entire yard. We're going to dig a couple of holes. There'll be one at the water main. I'm sorry, if it's a full service line, yes, we'll dig up the water main in the street. We'll also dig a hole at the water meter and one at the property line. And we'll use those holes to remove and install the new service line. So we're not going to tear up your entire property. We are going to repair it. We want to put it back the way we found it or better. That includes your yard, as well as if we have to do any work inside with drywall or patch anything that needs to be patched. We want to make sure that it's as good or better than we found it. And the only thing, if you are eligible and you get signed up to get yours replaced, you just have to be home, or an adult has to be home, and expect your water to be off for about 8 hours. So right now, the reason I came back is we have more blocks that were released. So we have, we're currently out looking at construction package 21, and that's 657 new premises in 3 and 4G. And right now, our folks have been canvassing, and we're about 14% on our authorization signed. So that construction package is due to start later this year. I'm not sure the exact time frame. They give us a long window, so I'm not sure when it'll start, but it should start sometime this year. But we are out doing canvassing to get folks signed up in advance, so that we can, of course, prioritize those blocks where we have the most people signed up as well, because that allows a contractor to have work to do when they start. And of course, we need your help as always. Yes.
Can I stop you? Can you go back to that last slide?
Yes.
Can you explain ROE?
Oh, sure. Actually, if I can go to the next page, I'll tell you exactly what it is. This, you see that agreement, it's called a right of entry authorization. And that's the document that homeowners have to sign to allow us to do the work. That is really the key for everything I'm talking about, is to get folks to sign this document, because that's how you sign up for the program. So that right of entry authorization allows us to come in your house and on your property and do that replacement on your private property. So that's the key to getting this work done, is to get folks to sign up, to give us permission to do the work. And we want everyone who's eligible to get it done, because it's free. And we don't want anyone to miss the opportunity to get it done. So we just really are trying to get folks to sign up so that they can participate. And it is a citywide effort. So even if it's not on your block, someone else may say something about lead-free DC, and you can say, oh yeah, that is a real program, and you definitely encourage you to sign up. So we're trying to ask everyone for their support, and to be able to answer the question that, yes, this is a real program, because that's one of the biggest questions that we get. Is it really free? And the answer to that is yes. So everything I talked about today is on dcwater.com/lead. So please take a look at the website. You should be able to answer all the questions or get all the information about the project. Or you can always contact our lead hotline, 202-787-4044, or the lead inbox, or you can always just call me. And my information is right there, 202-787-4049, or sean.moore@dcwater.com. And with that, I would love to answer your questions about lead-free DC.
Okay. Do you mind taking your
I was just about to do that.
All right. And I saw Commissioner Gosselin has a question, and then we have a question in the chat.
Let me just.
Okay, I'll let you concentrate on taking it down. There you go. Okay, 2 questions, Sean.
Yes.
First suggested by a constituent, Al Sieber. I assume that federal infrastructure money is supporting this. Does it support work being done in Chevy Chase in our community? And does DC Water have any contingency plans if that money is cut, eliminated, paused, which seems to be the order of the day in this period? Can you give us any insight into that?
So it is. I can't speak exactly where the money in Chevy Chase is coming from, but there is a combination of, grants, federal grants, EPA and different agency grants, as well as money from DC Water that is going into that work. So I don't know exactly which grant or which money is paying for work specifically in Chevy Chase. So I don't know. I know we are watching the situation on the ground with the changes in administration and how they may affect the program. And we are definitely looking for solutions in case things do change. But right now we do have funding in place. We have money that's been committed. But that's all I can say is I know we have money committed.
And now a real micro question. On my block, there's a 100-year-old guy, pipes were replaced. Around the meter, he was a lead. So you replaced to the meter, from the meter to his house. It's collapsing around the meter. I mean, it basically, it's dropped several feet. Assume as it rains and so on and so forth, you're going to get even more erosion. Who do I call? Somebody.
So you can do two things. So if you call the lead hotline, but actually I would say to email the lead hotline, the lead inbox, lead@dcwater.com, but please copy me on your email. That way I can follow up with them.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Got it. Thank you.
And from Alan Sieber in the chat, does the agreement restrict damage to the front yard?
I'm sorry, does it restrict damage?
Yeah.
So the agreement, basically, it's our commitment to repair whatever when I say mess up, it's like whatever we disturb as a part of the construction process. So, if we need to move something, we want to work with you beforehand to identify any specific needs like trees or other things that we may want to work around. But if it's something like a sidewalk or something that has to be broken, then we'll, of course, we're going to replace that in kind. Because if we need to move it to facilitate changing the pipe, then, we would have to do that. So yes, so that would be replaced in kind.
Sean, I have a question for you, a couple questions. One is on the data. Do you all have the data on the properties in a downloadable format, extractable format like Excel or CVS file, where commissioners or community members can go in and download that data, or is it just on the front end of the website?
I know it's on the front end of the website. I can provide you the data for the ANC commissioners for your ANC that in terms of as a download for the general public. Perfect. No, but for you all, I can download that information and send it to you.
That would be great if you could do that. And the reason why I asked that is I noticed from the data that the east of Chevy Chase, Hawthorne, Barnaby Woods, there's a lot of green. You have on the dashboard, there's more red along the Connecticut Avenue side. So probably Commissioner Nagy's district, Simmons, and maybe Gosselin. My district has a lot of green. So I'm definitely curious about why that is. Maybe the age of the homes could be.
Right.
But I also, for a broader perspective, want to make sure that if there's any way that we can help, because I've seen a lot of confusion with this program in, my community. I think people know about it, but they're not 100% sure what to do about it. And I was out talking to folks not too long ago, maybe about a month ago. And I know you guys are doing some work down here off of Western Avenue, but there seems to be some confusion. If we have data, if you need commissioners to work with you on addresses, maybe where you're not getting the ROE, as you talked about, maybe a knock on the door from a friendly commissioner might help, that homeowner. cross the finish line, because we definitely want these
Right.
pipes replaced. So definitely, for my district and anywhere in the ANC, I'm more than willing to help on that. And I do want to talk about just a little bit, if you can tell me the insight with filters. I know you guys are concentrating on replacing these lines. I believe there's also legislation on the table, maybe two different bills pending regarding this. One of them really heavily pushes filters and filtration at the source, point of source filters. What is your agency's perspective on that?
So in terms of filters, we provide filters whenever we do a lead service line replacement. We'll provide a filter pitcher plus 6 months worth of cartridges for for that replacement. In terms of the greater a filter replacement program, we recommend if people don't like the taste or they're concerned about their water, to purchase a filter, and we have all the details about that on our website. What to look for, all the standards to make sure you get something that really removes lead if you're concerned about lead. And that information we do have on our website, but we don't have a filter program where we're giving away filters except for when we do service line replacements.
Okay. And that's included. Can you talk about what's going on in the schools? Because it's been a while since I looked at the school data, but I was at some point in time kind of trying to keep track. And the reason why I say this, I came from IG's office of HUD, where we did a lot of lead work in housing, but we partnered with the other agencies in the federal government that had primary oversight of that. Can you talk about the school program and the filtration programs in schools? Because I think schools do have filters, don't they?
I'm not sure, and I don't want to tell you something that I'm not certain of. I could try to do a little research on that for you, and find out about that and let you know. I know we have, when I look at the map for most of the schools I've looked at, they already have had their service lines replaced, but I don't know, globally within the district, the standards or the number of schools that may still need to have service lines replaced. I know in terms of like recreation centers and other stuff that we're working with DGS and to get, make sure that we're replacing all those, with those centers as we encounter those that may have a lead or galvanized or an unknown service line to get that test pit done, and if it needs to be replaced, to get those replaced.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sherman?
Yeah, hi, Sean. I just wanted to hark back to the Zoom that we did, and thank you again for that. And I put a link to that in the chat so that folks, if they wish to watch that video, there were a lot of good community questions also during that hour that you spent with me, and Commissioner Gosselin was also on that call. One thing that came up in that conversation that I think would be helpful for you to clarify for people on this call is that when members of the community go to your website and they look up their residents on the map, and they look at their neighbor's situation with respect to the color coding, and they wish to initiate DC Water to come and verify what type of pool they have. I understood from our conversation that this is not resident initiated. DC Water determines the blocks and then informs people. But clarify that for us. And is there a way in which, if a number of neighbors got together and said, we'd really like to have DC Water prioritize our block, can they do that?
So in terms of neighbors, so the prioritization of the blocks is done by DC Water and is done with that data model. And so that's how we choose the blocks across the city. If you see your block and it's like all green, that means we are pretty sure it's not lead, but we're not 100% certain. So we don't put it in that verified non-lead, because we don't have a visual proof of that. And for all those areas where you see all of that green, we will come and do test pits in those areas to verify the service line material and then update the records. But that is being driven by DC Water. So that's not right now, that's just in line with the construction. So some of it is construction and replacement. Some of our contracts are really just focused on test pit and verification. So it just depends. But DC Water is really driving that in terms of where we're going with that process. So it's not really a customer-driven piece in terms of the test pits.
Right. So I think it's important for people to understand when they go and they check the status of their house with the color coding, they are nonetheless going to have to wait until DC Water prioritizes the block, as opposed to calling you up and saying, please come out and verify my pipe status. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.
But just to personal blocks they have designated, such as the block I live on, they've sent people here twice to verify that both sides are non-lead, and it's about a 10 or 15 minute thing. They want photographs to prove it to themselves that just to Lisa's point in trying to sell this program, I'm somebody who wouldn't. I replaced at my expense from the meter into the house. That cost me $5,000. I did that 3 years ago. So as long as it stays free, if you get you're on a prioritized block, take them up on it. It's a lot of savings.
Yeah, definitely. I see somebody had their hand up.
That's it.
One thing that might be worth mentioning, we had a town hall with our council member in Ward 4, Janice Lewis George, on Saturday, Sean, and she spoke to legislation introduced in, I believe, if I understood this correctly, Lisa, you were there, and Carol also, and Laura and Liz, so correct me if I'm wrong. She spoke to legislation that was either already proposed, introduced in the council, or to be introduced to speed up the replacement program. In her view, it was taking too long, that the designated target date for completion is like 2030 or something. And she wanted to speed that up. What do you know about that?
So I think there are two separate bills, as I think Commissioner Gore referenced, that are really, it's towards a mandate for replacement. So it would require everyone to get their service line replaced. Right now, we ask, you can say no, and it's an optional thing. You don't have to do it. We can't make you do it, but they're looking at a more of a mandate, which has been successful in other areas, because then it's a requirement that you do it. And if you that way, and I'm not sure, the two bills, there's back and forth and things that have to be worked out with those. But in essence, the mandate is just a requirement for you to get it replaced. So that's part of what's going on with those bills, with the one that Ms. Lewis George, the council member, is working on.
Well, we can leave it at that. I just understood her to indicate too that the legislation she was referring to would speed it up.
Yeah, I think that
was once you have that mandate, when we go to a block and it's like, okay, we're doing this block, then it becomes more of it's more required for you to do the work versus us saying, yeah, can we please do the work? It's like, well, we want to do the work for you for free, but you can still say no. But once it's mandated, then it is a requirement that has certain penalties, or I don't want to say penalties, but certain incentives attached to it to get folks to participate, especially when it's been done for free.
Great, super. And finally, just a personal note: are you a Scoutmaster?
I am.
Very good, John. I could tell from the uniform. Well, good for you.
Yeah. I'm doing double duty tonight, so thank you all for for allowing me to go. The Scouts are having their meeting right now, so but I definitely wanted to make sure I'm here to answer the questions and to talk about this program, which means a lot to me.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's in his bio, also in the DC Water newsletter. I put that link in the chat.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Sean. And we'll definitely be in touch, and I definitely look forward to getting that data. I'll follow up with you on that.
perfect. Sounds great. You all have a wonderful evening and thanks again.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So next up on the agenda, Commissioner Sherman, presentation on a DC bottle bill by Stephanie Miller. And this is going to be
Bring Stephanie into the conversation. Hey, there's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. So we only have a brief amount of time, and I want to get right to it. So we did have a very robust conversation that went on for about an hour and 15 minutes last night that I've posted to the ANC YouTube channel. So those of you who wish to really drill down on the bottle bill, hear a lot of very good community questions and comments, please go to the ANC channel on YouTube, where you can click and watch the video from last night. Stephanie Miller is a neighbor, an ANC 34G resident. She's the chief executive of Zero Waste in DC, and her organization, she personally are supporting the bottle bill. And she's going to give us sort of a top line overview of the bill, and then for about 5 minutes, and then take a few questions from our audience here tonight. So Stephanie, over to you, and thanks for being with us.
Great, thank you for inviting me. So I wear a lot of hats, but I'm going to be speaking this evening, or just for a few minutes, on behalf of the Return, Refund, Recycling Coalition for DC, basically the Bottle Bill Coalition. And what we've been advocating for a couple of years now is a strong, equitable bottle bill for the district. A bottle bill was actually introduced on January 15th by Council Member Nadeau and quite a few other council members, and I'll go through that in a moment. But what I wanted to do is just really briefly, high level, walk you through the problems that the bottle bill would be seeking to address, how the bill would work, really briefly, a few of the key lessons that we can learn from the 10 states that already have bottle bills, and what the current status of the bill is. I will do this in 3 or 4 minutes. So the problem is that we have a very big litter problem in DC. We know this based on, well, visually, I think all of us can attest to it, but we know it also based on trash cleanups that have been done over several years. And we know that most of this litter is in the form of beverage containers. And in fact, even though plastic is so light, it accounts for 60% of the weight of all the trash that's floating in the Anacostia River. So you don't have to go down to the Anacostia River to see the problem. If you take a walk in Rock Creek Park, as I often do, you see it there. You see it everywhere. You see it in parks in this ward as well. And a bottle bill is a solution to that problem. So how does it work? Essentially, the district bill would set a 10-cent deposit for each container, which is then immediately refunded when the beverage container is returned. This includes, the deposit would be relevant for aluminum cans, for glass, for plastic bottles, and there are very few exceptions. If you're interested, I can walk you through what the exceptions are. What this does, and we've seen this in other states, when you've got that incentive of 10 cents, it creates an incentive for people to actually return the bottles and allow them to be properly recycled. How is it paid for? Beverage companies pay for this. So they pay about 4 cents per bottle to cover the handling fee that the retailers would need in order to cover their collection process, and then sending all the bottles for recycling. There is always a percentage of claims, of deposits that go unclaimed. And what the language in the current bill foresees is that those unclaimed deposits could be used to fund things like what you were, I think, just talking about before I joined, lead filters for district residents that have lead service lines, water bottle refill stations at the right locations across the district. What we've learned from the 10 states that have these bottle bills in place and have for decades is, first of all, they have seen a drastic reduction in bottle and beverage container litter in the range of 69% to 84% reduction in litter, and the higher numbers are for those states that have 10-cent deposits, which is what is being proposed in the district bill, as opposed to 5 cents, where you see some of the lower rates closer to the 69%. That's the first thing, drastic reduction in litter. Secondly, they've seen sharp increases in recycling of beverage containers. So to give you a sense, we in the district have a rate of 25%. That's the rate at which we recycle the beverage containers. We expect with a bottle bill that will increase at least 3 times to 75%. And the third thing we know from these states is that bottle bills create jobs. So a couple of different kinds of jobs. The first one is what we call canners, folks maybe low income who see the opportunity to collect the litter and bring it in for the redemption. This becomes a source of revenue which can be quite significant for some folks. It also, because we're talking about increasing the volume of what's going through the waste management system, it creates opportunities for waste haulers for collection and recycling because of those increased rates of bringing all these containers out of the rivers, out of the parks, out of the incinerators, out of the landfills, and into the recycling system. The status of the bill is, as I said, it was introduced January 15th, very strong support by council members. 11 out of 13 council members co-introduced this with council member Nadeau. It's now been referred to 2 committees. First, the business committee, and they have till July to review and have hearings, and then it will move on to the Committee on Transportation and Environment. We are really hoping there'll be robust hearings on the bottle bill. We at the coalition have been doing a lot of outreach with thousands of district residents, but also speaking to ANCs like yourself. So far, 12 ANCs have passed resolutions in support of introducing an equitable, strong bottle bill for DC. So I think I've done that in less than 5 minutes, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions I can. Oh, Bruce, I think you're muted.
Yep, sorry about that. That was great. Thank you very much. Let's go right to questions. Corinthia, Commissioner Simmons.
Hi. So I'm from originally one of the bottle states of Michigan. So I didn't get to attend the session yesterday, but what infrastructure, where will the bottles and glass and cans be collected at? Because where I'm from, they were collected at the grocery stores and they already had the infrastructure to collect those. So what's the thought for DC? Are we gonna, our grocery stores and any place that sells bottle cans and plastic, they're gonna be able to collect them?
Yeah.
And are they aware of, it's gonna be a lot? Because when I was in middle school and high school, I used to collect the cans for money. So I'm just hoping that, we have the infrastructure. Is that a part of it?
Yeah, well, from Michigan what it takes, and Michigan, I think, is one of those really great examples in terms of the higher the more reduction in litter and higher recycling. So the answer is the bottle bill today foresees a few different ways in which the beverages can be returned. One is, and I think a lot of it will be grocery stores, other retail stores. There will be exemptions for really small mom and pop shops, less than 2,000 square feet. But there will have to be some space made, as you said, the infrastructure for the bill envisages what are called reverse vending machines. You may have seen some of these around. There's one at Nat Stadium, but basically you put the bottles in and it spits out a receipt that you can take to the counter and get your cash, or you can use it for your groceries if it's a grocery store. I think there'll be a lot of those. And specifically, the oversight for this bill will fall with the Department of Environment and Education, Energy and Environment, and they will make sure, it is in the bottle bill language right now, that there is enough concentration in underserved areas where there may not be a lot of retail stores, that you make sure that there is some system where people don't have to go a long way to bring their bottles and cans back. Besides the reverse vending, there will be some bulk centers and there will be some bag drop-off centers. So you can, these canners, they often will collect the bottles in big bags and they'll bring them to these centers. That's probably, they're not going to want to use the one at a time reverse vending machines. So there'll be that that is in the bill at the moment.
Let's
Great.
hear
Thank you. Yes, Ki Yoon.
Thank you. At first, when I heard about this, I was a proponent. I thought it was a brilliant idea. Then I realized the effect it might have on my business. And some of my suppliers guaranteeing me that the prices will go up. 10 cents per bottle for a case of Miller Lite or Bud Light represents $2.40. That's actually more than what I make selling that case. So there is that huge concern of pricing going up and the rest of the residents actually having to bear that. But my real concern is if the limit for a mom and pop who's exempt from redeeming these will fall under 2,000 square feet, then I have to redeem them. And my store's not that big. I have no idea where I could store the cans and bottles that will come to the store. If I keep them outside, DC will fine me $150 for every instance of open container of trash, regardless of whether it's recyclable or not. I don't have space in the store to put them. So in reality, I may actually turn around and become a dumpster. So my real concern is how do you expect the retailers to support these when all of our retailers, independent retailers in DC, are small? And the burden that it takes to keep them clean, keep them free of pests, so that our patrons can have a pleasant shop experience instead of shopping for wine in a dumpster. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster for my business.
Okay, so you're raising 2 points. One is the cost for customers, and the other one is the space for businesses. So what we have seen in the 10 states, the beverage companies, the ones that are bearing the cost for this, it will not be consumers that bear the cost, and it will not be the city that bears the cost. It will be the beverage companies. They used to bear those costs in the days when Coke was sold in glass bottles. And once plastic came, they decided they didn't want to get the returns. And so those then became something that we as residents needed to deal with, and the city, the municipality, needed to deal with. So this is putting the burden back on beverage companies. They will pay for the infrastructure to put these things in place wherever they need to be. What the data we have seen, and there's very good data from the Container Recycling Institute, I can post the website for that, is that in the 10 bottle bill states, we have not seen beverage prices go up. And there's not been diminishing of demand as well. So because it's the deposit system, prices are not going up as a result of this. It's just a deposit. It's not a tax like when you go to the store and you've got to pay now 5 cents for the plastic bag. It's not that. You get your money back as soon as you bring the empties. So that's on the pricing side. In terms of the business side, so if the business is less than 2,000 square feet, they're exempt. Those businesses are exempt from having to make the space for the returns. And then retailers over that would presumably have some capacity for at least the reverse vending machine. It has worked in other states. It hasn't been a huge issue there. So I didn't quite understand if your business is less than 2,000 square feet or greater than 2,000 square feet.
Or greater, but the reverse vending machine, I looked at that image, it would probably hold like 20 bottles because before it's emptied out. Where would those vending machines live? And what would I do with the bag of recycled stuff that came out of there?
Right, so it would need to be right-sized, right? I mean, for whatever store, it needs to, the machines themselves don't take up that much space. So I think what you're talking about is when the machines run out of space, what happens? And again, that will, so there will be a nonprofit that is formed, that's foreseen in the bill, that will be, beverage companies will have to come together and create this stewardship organization, and they will be responsible for figuring out exactly how we avoid the kinds of problems you're talking about. So for example, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine the sort of thing they need to figure out is if in your store you've got a reverse vending machine and it's filling up every 2 or 3 days, then there needs to be collection every 2 or 3 days. And that is not paid for by your store, that is paid for by the fund that's set up through this nonprofit.
What if you need collection every hour?
That's exactly the kind, that I cannot answer that, but that's exactly the kind of question that stewardship organization is responsible for taking care of and reporting to the DOE on how that's working. If it's not working, it needs to work differently. Again, the good thing for us in DC is that we're not starting from scratch. There are 10 states that are doing this. They're doing it successfully. And so we're not sort of experimenting and starting from scratch. This works, it works well in other states.
We're going to have to move on, I think, to our next segment since we're just about out of time. But Commissioner Grunwald, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Thanks so much for showing up again, Stephanie. I enjoyed your presentation the other day. Do the reverse vending machines condense the material?
I don't know the answer to that.
That would make a lot more space inside them.
Yes, no, and that would address the previous person's question as well in terms of how much space it would take up. I don't know that. I can definitely find out and I can post a response to you.
Thank you.
Super. Well, Stephanie, again, want to thank you for coming back and joining us tonight, as well as last night, and explaining this. There's a lot to go here. The legislative pathway is going to run through most of this year, so the council's not going to be acting on this legislation next week. We'll have time in our commission to look at this and hear views in the community. And Key Yoon, your views are very important as we understand what the impact this would have on businesses. So this is our first brush with this, and we thank you, and we'll certainly be revisiting the topic. So thanks very much, Stephanie.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Certainly.
Stephanie. All right. So next on the agenda is myself and Commissioner Gosselin. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Gosselin for for discussion and update on the Go Vocal Engagement tool.
Okay, well, this is part and parcel of our attempt to both improve our connection to the community with a new website and with new engagement tools. As you know, commissioners, because you voted to favor this program and to pay for our share of it, we're going in with three other ANCs to buy a subscription to this service, which we hope to integrate into the new website. Lisa and I attended an initial kind of getting to know you meeting, and we made quite clear then, and Lisa in particular made quite clear, we can't approach this in a leisurely way. This ANC has some very big issues coming up, and we need to get boned up on how on the actual programming of the site. So the group of other ANCs has rather generously said that we're going to switch around sessions, and before we start talking high-level strategy and how to use this, starting Friday, we're going to start getting briefed on the nuts and bolts of how to make a project work. And so our hope is to, within the month, maybe sooner, have a first site up available to the public through our website. This will allow us to give updates, to do flash polling and surveying, and to get feedback in a way that is kind of iterative, so that if people come up with proposals for particular ways to handle pieces of a puzzle, for example, the community center library redevelopment, we can then go out with that and say to the community, hey, give us some feedback on that, so that we keep testing ideas. Anyways, that's where we stand right now. Do you want to add anything more, Lisa?
No, the other ANCs were, you might have touched on this, were really I think generous in speeding up, the meetings and the process to make sure that we can get our tool up in time for hopefully the Civic Core disposition community meeting, so that we can get feedback on that. So I was really glad that, they're very cooperative with us on that part.
I guess I'd say this for one other thing. None of the ANCs have used this tool. ANC 3D has a tool somewhat like this that we and they decided to step away from, because it's based in an Australian company, and the only tech support you get is at some midnight to 4 a.m. or whatever it is, the time difference. So we're all going to be on a learning curve. But if you want to get a feel for the way 3D has used a very similar tool, you can go to their website and see Vauxhall Road safety. I think they have 4 projects up, and it'll give you a feel for what you can do with something like this. Now, again, we're gonna need to learn the back office stuff pretty quickly. So are there any questions from fellow commissioners?
Okay. Hearing none. Thank you, Commissioner Gosselin. I appreciate the update, and we'll definitely have additional, information floating back and forth to the commission as we move along with that engagement tool. Next on the agenda is a discussion and possible vote on performance oversight testimony. We actually had 3 that I felt the commission could potentially submit oversight testimony for, and we actually have 1. So those 3 were Office of Planning, Office of Zoning, and WMATA, which is on not February 14th, but March 3rd. But we just have 1 that the commission was able to work on, and that was Commissioner Nagy, and it was Office of Zoning. So she got that together fairly quickly. And Commissioner Nagy, do you want to go over just some of the high points of that testimony? I know we kind of worked on some amendments at the last minute, but you want to give them the high points? You're on mute, I think. Yep, you're muted. Liz, you're still muted. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Hang on a minute. Let me see. Did you get a notice asked to unmute? Oh, wow. I don't know what's going on. Let me make you a co-host. Let me see if that changes it. Okay, try now, Liz.
What in the world?
I don't know. Oh, man.
Liz, is Chris there? Maybe Chris can help.
You can also dial in, Liz. You want to dial in real quick to the meeting?
Use your phone and just have the phone be your audio.
Okay, she said. All right, let me do it real quick. Okay, so Liz, just type in the chat if I leave anything out. But so me and Liz talked, I think we started talking yesterday about performance oversight testimony. And I'm on my screen just to kind of let you guys know. So I'm not on the Zoom screen. I'm on the testimony word screen, so I can't see you guys. So just shout out if you need me to slow down. But we talked about doing the importance of this commission doing testimony, particularly for the Office of Zoning. And one of the things that we talked about was the combination of the resolution that we recently wrote and the letter that the commission recently drafted and sent off to Nina Alpert requesting more engagement time for the commission. But one of the things we both kind of felt was really important was to for this commission to put its voice into the testimony process and to let the council know our experience with this recent rulemaking versus contested case, how the ANC was not given notice, how the commission felt the chair handled that hearing, and just the position that it left the commission in and the community in. So Liz drafted testimony, and commissioners, I know this came to you guys kind of last minute today, but it is really a spinoff of what we've already approved. And, you know, it does give background on the Chevy Chase Civic Corps and the concerns that the community has expressed about the proposed upzoning, the loss of the dedicated library and community center facilities, and the reduction of the outdoor parking and recreation space and programs. So some things that we've always consistently talked about. From there, it goes into ANC actions and zoning commission response. So the testimony talks about the January 29th ANC meeting where we had held a special meeting to discuss zoning case 2325 and voted on 6-0 to proceed with a contested case versus rulemaking. And then we talk about the zoning commission hearing that was held on the 30th that barely acknowledged, didn't really acknowledge our resolution at all, and didn't give it the great weight that we would want it to have been given and required to have been given. The resolution or testimony then talks about procedural irregularities. And I know Commissioner Grunwald submitted some friendly amendments. So I put her friendly amendment at the top of this because I think it in timing, it kind of goes with timing at, you know, the number one regarding the zoning changes largely taking place during COVID. We talk about the failure to provide the required notice, the limitation of the ANC's rule as a result of that. Also, as a result, restricted community participation. We talk about Commissioner Hood's statements in several hearings regarding Rock Creek West. We talk about a violation of regulatory framework, and we point to, in that particular citation, the classification in terms of could being a contested case by Sarah Barden, the director of Office of Zoning, and then inconsistent treatment with similarly situated projects throughout the city. So we specifically cite Ward 1, where there was a case that was initially treated as rulemaking, but was reclassified as contested. And in this same bullet, which is number 7, we're going to insert another case of inconsistent treatment, which is a Ward 2 project, and we'll have that language to you. Then we talk about the community and business impact. So we talked about in our testimony, Robert Gordon's statement, who's the owner of Little Beast, Jean and Andy Gross of Monarch Paint and Design, and Ken Ki-yoon of Magruder. So we highlight our business concerns in here as well. After those statements, I added Commissioner Grunwald's statement about the lack of so-called community participation, and that, you know, rightfully so, business owners weren't even aware of the proposed zoning change until recently, as of last month, and that these testimonies highlight a critical procedural error with our community. In terms of the request for action, we have 4 particular requests. So directing the zoning commission to reverse its decision, require the zoning commission to abandon the rulemaking process in favor of conducting a proper contested case, investigate the documented bias exhibited by the zoning commission chair and take appropriate action, and ensure small and minority businesses receive fair consideration in the zoning process. So that's a summary of the testimony. At this point, we can take definitely commissioner comments. We'll hear from community members as well, if you guys want to chime in on that, and then we'll ask for a vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Hi. So I just want to point out that when it comes to these zoning issues, it seems as though the testimony in this is strategically designed to minimize, is strategically designed to minimize residents' input in that. You know, I work, it came out today, I got to drive home from work. So I have not been able to give my dedicated time to review this testimony. However, I've looked at it during this meeting, and I have an issue with the reference to Chevy Chase Boyce and their lawsuit in regards to our testimony. I don't think that the ANC endorses Chevy Chase Boyce. Also, Chevy Chase Boyce is not representative of the entire community. I think that they have an advantage over other residents in the community because they have commissioners to write testimony, to write resolutions on their behalf. And I would like to see the testimony remove reference to Chevy Chase Boyce because they are not representative of Chevy Chase. They are not the voice of everyone.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Grunwald?
Yeah, I'm just about to raise my hand officially there. I guess Commissioner Simmons is referring to myself and Ms. Nagy. I'm not writing, we haven't written anything on anyone's behalf. I'm representing my constituents who in the survey said that they didn't want certain things to happen and they wanted the, so I'm not representing any organized group.
Commissioner Nagy?
I just wanted to add that the reference to the lawsuit is not because we endorse the ANC endorses Chevy Chase Boyce. It's because it's a fact that there is a lawsuit concerning the Civic Corps. Period. It's not an endorsement of any group. It's just a statement of fact.
So since no one endorses it, I would suggest we.
Commissioner Simmons, hang on, you were not recognized. Any other commissioner have a comment? Commissioner Gosselin?
I think without, I mean, I want to separate myself from Corinthia's comments about, implicitly about Carol and about Liz, but I do think that we should keep distance from the Boyce lawsuit. We're not, as a commission, permitted to sue. I understand Liz's point of view, which is a statement of fact. And as fact, I guess I could go along with it, but I think we'd be well advised to simply remove that sentence. The sentence prior to it makes the general point. So that's my suggestion.
Any other
Can I
Yeah. Sorry.
Commissioner Nagy.
I'm not opposed to taking it out. I see that there's a comment in the chat from John Wheeler, and I just think it bears just clarification, because he says there is no lawsuit concerning the Civic Corps. And actually, there is a lawsuit. It was dismissed and it was refiled. Just so you know, I'm happy to take out the reference. It's not really the basis on which this testimony was written, and I don't have a problem taking it out.
Commissioner Simmons.
Oh, I just wanted to ask Commissioner Grunwald, when has she conducted with her constituents about this zoning issue? I know we had the survey maybe a couple years ago, and it wasn't fully representative of the community. It was a small population. So I'm just wondering if she's had any current interaction with her constituents about that. And if it was a new survey, I'm just understanding that, and that's all.
Yeah, and until there's a survey that supersedes the one that we did in 2023, I'm basing a lot of my representation on what my constituents said back then. And I believe actually, Ms. Simmons, in your district 05, there was actually more opposition to zoning, upzoning and housing on the commons in your district among your constituents than there were among mine. So I feel very comfortable and very confident representing the constituents that I have here as they've expressed themselves in 2 surveys, one in 2019 and one in 2023. And until we get a better, bigger survey that supersedes the ones that have been done already, I will continue to represent my constituents based on those surveys. And I'm surprised that you're not doing the same.
Can I?
Commissioner Gosselin.
It seems to me that Commissioner Nagy has rather generously said she'd be willing to remove the sentence. I'm not sure why we need to proceed further with this piece of the argument. Can't we accept the generosity of the commission and amend the draft testimony?
Absolutely.
No, yeah, I agree. And I just want to piggyback off of the conversation, and hopefully we can move forward with it. Just in terms of, I want to make sure everybody is clear how this went down. Commissioners, you know, from not only this commission, but previous commissions, I am a stalwart on testimony. I am a stalwart for attending hearings. I'm a stalwart for making this commission do what it has to do to represent the community's voice in a bigger, broader setting, which is the council and the mayor. I have always asked for us to do performance oversight testimony, budget testimony, budget letters for that purpose, because it's great that we're collecting all the comments and we're responding to our residents, but we have got to do the continued fight at the council and with the mayor. I previously asked the commission, I think I sent an email right after everybody was confirmed. I don't know who that is, but I need you to go on mute. But after everybody was confirmed about performance oversight testimony, I sent a schedule out. The last agenda, if you remember, I had a couple agencies on there that we could possibly do testimony for. Some commissioners did individual testimony, which is great. This was a conversation that I had with Liz, where me and Liz were discussing the voice of this commission before the council. And I had an honest conversation with Liz where I told her that I was not happy that this commission did not have performance oversight testimony for DMPED, for Office of Planning, and Office of Zoning. And Liz took the mantle and said, I agree, and I'm going to get this done. And we worked on this together. Now, Liz was sick today. I've been extremely in a lot of pain for months. We had a lot personal going on, but we got it done. And Liz primarily did it. It was nothing with Chevy Chase Voice. It was nothing with not even any of the other commissioners, none of even you guys. It was primarily me and Liz getting this together. And what we used is the body of work that this commission had already approved, which was the resolution and a letter to DMPED. So this was something that I am sure we are going to have at least a 6-0 vote, because we are voting for what we have already said.
Yeah.
And we are right to say that.
Thank you.
And we have to say these things before oversight testimony. We have to go to the council and beg them to listen to us. And we had to beg the council to even let Liz testify. So we've been working on this from multiple angles, but it's been me and Liz. So I just want to really make that clear. And it's critically important. And once I'm gone, if there's any legacy I leave on this commission, is that we continue to make that fight. It's not always on deaf ears. So I'll stop there and go to community, because I'm sure I'm past my 3 minutes. Christopher Vaden, then Jamie Butler, then Elizabeth Vaden.
Thanks. I think this is a prime example of the problem of not posting drafts for public review in advance of meetings. Those of us who are here have Chair Gore's oral summary of what's in the draft, but without actually seeing the language, it's very hard to have any meaningful public comment. And you say it's based on resolutions that you passed, but I would point out that it's based on the January 29th resolution that the public didn't see in advance either. So it's nonsense to think that you're getting public input before you're going out with this statement to the council. And the language is important. I realize you've taken positions on many issues about what the zoning commission has done and about the civic core, but I don't quite know what you're saying about Chairman Hood's attitude as he's expressed in zoning commission hearings. And I think it's vitally important what kind of accusation an ANC makes against the chairman of the zoning commission, and we can't see it. We don't know what you're saying, and I don't think this is at all the way to go about doing that and getting public input on your representation of the community on these very important issues. I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you. Point taken, and I'll come back to that. Jamie Butler.
Yeah, I actually was going to say what Chris just did, although he said it more succinctly than I, but I'm also concerned about not seeing resolutions in advance, especially from this new group who were committed to public input. I would also agree with Corinthia, and I thank Liz, Commissioner Nagy, for agreeing to take out the reference to the Chevy Chase Voice lawsuit. I think that was very ill-advised. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Barnes, Chevy Chase Voice.
Hi, thank you both, Lisa and Liz, for scrambling with a little bit of notice to provide testimony for the oversight for our community. I think this is commendable, and it's what the members of Chevy Chase Voice have waited a long time to see in terms of our community speaking out at these oversight hearings. And I just think that, you know, when people who want to develop Chevy Chase see this, they're screaming now about scrambling to put a resolution together, but they weren't screaming when everything was done without speaking out at the oversight committees and to DMPED and to Office of Planning. They weren't screaming then, they were applauding everything being rushed through without community input. And now that there is actually community input, and we have some commissioners who are really listening. I just think that it is unfair to criticize the commissioners who are working hard to see that this changes, that this starts happening the way it should be. And yeah, who wouldn't like more time to put these resolutions together? And if you had weeks to put them out beforehand, that would be great. But we rarely do. There always is scramble. I haven't even finished the testimony that Chevy Chase Voice is giving tomorrow. So these are things that can't be done way in advance very often. They're almost emergency measures, if you will. So that's number one. And number two, I just sat here and listened to you make the points that you made previously in the resolution. So I do not see what the hubbub is about. And there's one point that I would like the community to also be aware of, and I don't know if this was incompetence or a sleight of hand, but throughout the Chevy Chase SAP and throughout the comprehensive plan, it refers to moderate density for our community. And if you look at the set down, it refers, if you read it, to moderate density. Moderate density is not what we have now proposed for this community. We have medium density. So I don't know if they just got their numbers mixed up, their charts mixed up. I just can't really make heads or tails of it. But this is exactly why this is actually a violation of the law, by the way. For them to be putting a medium density development anywhere in Chevy Chase between Livingston and the Circle is not in line with the comprehensive plan. It's not in line with the flume, and it's not in line with the small area plan. So this is yet another reason, and it's a legal reason that Chevy Chase Voice does have in its lawsuit, why we need a contested case, as we've been saying for the last year, 2 years, going on 2 years. Thank you both very much for doing that. And I'm sorry it's at the last minute. I would like to have read it too. I would like to have had input. I'm just glad you took the time to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth Vaden?
Thank you. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the ANC for doing often hard, often unappreciated work behind the scenes. And I know oftentimes it does involve scrambling. There was no reason for this to be a scramble. Lisa, as you pointed out, you raised 2 weeks ago with the members, and before that, the need to put together performance oversight testimony. I think that's a great thing, and I'm glad you've pushed it. I think it's important for the ANC to have that kind of voice. There was no need for this to happen today. There's no need for a commissioner who, by the way, happens to be a commissioner who takes a different perspective on some of this, not to have had time to review it. And there's no reason why the community couldn't have had time to review this too. And that means everyone from Cheryl Barnes, who also has a perspective and a reason to be wanting to view this, as well as people like myself who've worked very hard to try to bring to try to ensure that a wider perspective is brought to this. I have talked to many, many people throughout the community who aren't being represented in this conversation about a desire to see affordable housing built in this community. Both sets of positions exist here, but we're not doing a very good job of ensuring that they are both equally being heard. And I think we can do better than that.
Thank you. Commissioner Nagy?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I just feel compelled to address something that Christopher Vaden said, which is that the allegations about what zoning commissioner and chair Hood said are serious, and they are indeed serious. And I have provided separately, because it's very concerning to me, YouTube videos and timestamps of the times when he's said things about Rock Creek West and Chevy Chase, derogatory comments. So I just want to be very clear that I would not make any statements like that rashly or without support. He says these things publicly. It's on YouTube. It's been there for a long time. It will be there forever. And I just feel like I'm happy to share them with you if you would like to see them, but you need to realize that they are there. They're not fabricated.
So I would just, in my summary, well, Chris Vaden, did you want to respond to that?
Here we go.
Yeah, if I could. I mean, I'm not, I'm well aware of the statements that Commissioner Nagi's referring to. I watched the hearings at the time. I think I've seen a listserv post where Commissioner Nagy listed them out. I don't think they amount to the kind of prejudice that she says they do. I think his observations based on years serving on the zoning commission and time after time having people in Ward 3 object to affordable housing projects, that's his lived experience as the head of the zoning commission. That's not bias against us. That's not grounds for recusing him from participating in the decision. That's just Commissioner Nagi's hypersensitivity when her privilege is challenged. Thank you.
What?
So Commissioner Nagy, let's go on with the discussion. I'll just add, kind of what we said in the beginning, that ideally we would have had this in advance. One of the things I do want folks to keep in mind, I said it in the beginning of the hearing, is this is a new commission. These commissioners just came in, and it's one thing to be a community member and look at the commission from the outside, but it's a whole different ball of wax when you get confirmed and then you get wrapped up into some of the activities of the commission. And personally, I would rather us get this testimony together in a day or two rather than let it pass. And that is primarily because of what we're testifying to. You might not have seen the letter that we wrote to Nina Alpert, but it was a rehash of a resolution that we wrote to her, I believe, in 2024, September of 2024, asking for broader engagement. So none of the conversation that we have in our testimony is new. None of it. It's not new. And it does come from a place in the community where it has been expressed for a while. We'll have the Nina Alpert letter up. I think I sent an email, or Commissioner Nagy sent an email to Commissioner Sherman earlier today to get that up. So we'll have it up on our website pretty soon, and you can look at it and you will see it's a rehash asking them to address the resolution that we had previously issued. So with that, and then I will say in terms of Commissioner Hood's comments, I'm very disappointed in his comments. And regardless of whether we think it shows bias or not, it shows poor judgment as a commissioner. He's chair. And it leaves an appearance that people can interpret his opinion about this neighborhood. If the roles were reversed and it was referring to another neighborhood, maybe referring to another part of the city regarding crime, I think people would be upset about that too. So I think he maybe put himself in that position to be challenged about what he thinks about this community. I don't think those comments were appropriate at all. And I attended the hearing. I heard him say it. So it was not appropriate. Commissioner Fennessy.
Hi, thank you. I just, when I heard the word hypersensitivity, I also want to say that I had the same reaction when I heard words like you people, or every time I talk to Ward 3. I think that that does show lumping and taking this case not on its own individual merits or demerits, but applying past experience to it, which, yes, that's part of the way that our brains operate, right? We always bring in our past experiences, but if we can't set them aside in terms of like judging a situation, then that is not going to be an impartial and factual judgment. And I found those comments, again, like Commissioner Gore said, if they had been applied to another group, perhaps besides the Chevy Chase group, I think it would have gotten a lot more flack. So I think, yes, we can be hypersensitive, but I think we're justified.
I move the question.
One last comment from Commissioner Grunwald.
Yes, hi. I just want to reiterate that this should not be controversial, as you said, Commissioner Gore, because this oversight that we've written up here just follows the resolution and letter that we just submitted. And I believe everything in this oversight testimony is true. It deals with facts. It doesn't deal with feelings. And it's not about affordable housing. This is about how the zoning commission approached or did not approach our community, and did engage or did not engage our community. Has nothing to do with the values of affordable housing or any other thing. These are just facts of how we were treated by the zoning commission. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
So with that, Commissioner Gosselin called for the question, so I'll honor that. The motion is on adopting the testimony as amended to include the reference with Ward 2 under the, along with the reference of the Ward 1 property. And Commissioner Nagy will be the commissioner that will be delivering the testimony tomorrow. So all those in favor, if you can show your hand, Commissioner Nagy.
Lisa, do you want to add in the reference of removing the Chevy Chase voice part from?
She agreed to that. So that is a
Okay.
friendly amendment. She agreed to remove that reference. 1 minute before we take the vote, commissioners, I don't see Commissioner Nagy.
She was there a moment ago.
Here,
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, hang on a minute. Let me move her to the front.
She
I
has
had to switch to a different
boxes.
computer. My other computer crashed, so I'm here
Carol,
twice.
Can you lower your?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Now I can see you. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? All those abstain? Okay, so the motion carries 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, and the abstention is Commissioner Simmons. All right. Thank you, commissioners. We'll get that final out to you tonight. And Commissioner Nagy, keep us posted. Because I know you have an appointment in the morning, but keep us posted.
Yep.
If you need help on that. Okay. Any community announcements or commissioner announcements? All right. In terms of commission business, we don't have a treasurer's report for tonight. Possible agenda items for the next meeting. Let's see. We don't have much.
Well, here's one thing to add.
Okay.
On Thursday, the Office of Planning will do its initial brief on the start of the rewrite of the comprehensive plan. And I am happy to, I will be at one. I've actually signed up for both of the briefings. This is going to be a long process, but we need to make sure it is not conducted in the way the small area plan and those amendments to the comprehensive plan were done.
Okay. So, will you give us a brief out on that at the next meeting? Okay, great. Commissioner Simmons?
The next meeting on the 10th, we have Birdsong to approve their liquor license.
Okay. Birdsong liquor license. Okay. And Commissioner Fennessy?
Hi, yes. I don't have testimony for the group, but I just wanted to put a PSA out there that DC Public Schools, the oversight hearing is on Thursday. And one of the things that often happens with our schools, Lafayette, Deal, Jackson Reed, as well as some of the magnet schools that neighborhood kids attend, like School Without Walls, is that the budgets for these schools often get cut quite a lot. And sometimes the funding is restored, but like in the case of School Without Walls, for example, they cut the Chinese teacher, they cut the theater program. And eventually the funding was restored, but not before that teacher had left. And so that whole language program, any kid who had started in that language track had to stop. So, and there may be other issues also with DCPS, but I would encourage anyone who has a moment to advocate for funding for our students, because it does seem like that's an issue. And I would also be concerned about the pre-K funding. A lot of the kids in our area, because Ward 3 and Ward 4 west of the park don't have a lot of young pre-K slots. Those are filled at places like St. Albans, and I'd be concerned about that funding as well. So just a plug to put your testimony in if you have a moment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sherman?
There's a huge issue swirling all around us, and that's the threat to home rule that a lot of people in the community are concerned about. And I think there are people separately meeting in the community that I think we ought to reach out to and bring into our process to create a forum for those views. So I'd suggest that. Also, I think in light of pre-K at Lafayette in particular, and the future of the Episcopal Center for Children, as Murray is looking to consummate the purchase of the 2 acres, the entire property of 7, but the 2 acres with the 3 buildings. We have discussed, I've mentioned to Murray in the conversations I've had with them about their awareness and their sensitivity to, in their planning, looking at helping on the problem of additional capacity for Lafayette Elementary School. It's a topic that we've raised previously. So I'd like to, for consideration, have this be on the agenda. We'll see if Murray is prepared to talk about that. And I want to have some conversations with commissioners in advance. But I just want to flag that as an issue going forward that we'd like to kind of get an update on what their thinking is.
Okay. And Commissioner Gosselin?
Yeah, I forgot there's also a public space permit application for the new restaurant going in what was going to be due south up on by the Citibank where Wine and Organic was.
Wait a minute. So due south isn't coming?
No, it's the same owners, but they're not doing a barbecue place. Big disappointment to me, but they're doing another, they're doing an American bistro kind of thing. But in any case, I think we need to take that up to 10th, because I think that if I remember correctly, the Public Space Committee meeting is the 23rd.
Okay. Can you send me the link to that so I can include that in the agenda? Okay.
There's one other issue which I just want to put out there, and we can get around to it at some point. When we have sought to engage the business operators and owners on Connecticut Avenue, we also need to engage the owners of the buildings. Because now that the rezoning has happened, it is only a matter of time before these owners are being given offers to buy their properties. And we need to be engaging those folks to understand what their views are and what their thoughts are, just to have a bit of visibility on what could be a rapidly developing process.
I'd be happy to volunteer to start reaching out to them. Early in my first term, I tried to reach out to the person who owns the largest portion of the Safeway site, and the woman who owns the block that includes Starbucks made no progress, but I think it's important that we do start trying to make those contacts. So I'm happy to work on that with you or on my own. I think I ought to Simmons because it's important for both of our SMDs.
Yeah, that's why my hand is up. I'll offer to partner with you on that.
Great. Okay. Any more commissioner announcements? Any community announcements? Okay, and that's it for business. All right, meeting adjourned 8:30, right on time. Thank you all. And yeah, and we'll get the letter posted and the testimony posted as soon as we can. So you could look for that on our website.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Great.
Night.